Hey guys, Dan here with Pain For You. Painforyou.com if you want to watch a nice video about how pain starts, how it can get chronic, and there's a self-assessment there for download. So this is part 2 of Do You Love Yourself? And I know that video is a little bit heavy, and the goal is not to make us feel worse about ourselves, but to really recognize that if we're waiting for other people's validation and approval so that we can love ourselves, we may be waiting a long time. So whose job is that? Whose job is it to make you feel good about yourself? It's yours. It's mine, right? I mean, nobody else is going to make you feel like a great person. If we rely on others for our own self-esteem, we're going to be in for some challenging times, right? And when I say, do you love yourself? And your answer is, no, I don't. Where did that come from, right? Is it very possible that that just comes from the subconscious programs that we got as a child? That perhaps we didn't get the love that we wanted or needed or should have gotten? I believe that's the case. Because how many people were raised with parents that either didn't give them the time or the attention, or literally said or did things that said, you're not worth it. You're a pain in my rear end, right? How many kids were raised with parents that says, you're not too bright, you're kind of stupid. Don't be stupid. What's wrong with you, right? And so really kind of tough to grow up loving yourself if in fact we had influences like that. If we were bullied in school, you may have had the best parents in the world, but if you ran into some mean kids in school and they were picking on you, it's really easy to adopt their image of us as our own self-image. And so the good news is, if you don't love yourself, it's probably based on programming that's not even yours, right? You may have adopted that and taken that upon yourself, but it doesn't mean that that's accurate. It just means that you're living off of the belief that somebody else may have given you that you're not good enough. So, do you love yourself? I would say for the most part we do. We want a better life. We want to get out of pain and get rid of these symptoms, and for the most part, we all generally say, I do. And then again, per part 1, do your actions reflect that? So, look, if you're constantly walking around looking for approval from others before you can feel good about yourself, it's a recipe for disaster and a recipe for unhappiness. It's really up to us. We've got to decide that I'm a good person. I do good things, right? I add value to this world in some way, whether it be just little things like for your family, for your kids, for your spouse, for your whomever. I do good things, right? And maybe if you're not doing good things, it might be a good time to say, well, what would I like to do? How would I like to add value? Can I volunteer for a charity, an animal shelter, for a kids' school, or for, disabled people or veterans or whatever? Can you do something that will help others and also make you feel really good about yourself, right? Because again, numbing yourself with junk food, alcohol, drugs, television, just disappearing from reality is not the way to have a good, happy life, right? I had planned on talking about, happiness in a separate video, but let's talk about it here. Comparing ourselves to others is the surest way to always be unhappy, right? And social media, how many times do you go on Facebook and what do you see? You see everybody else leading this wonderful life and vacations and smiles and kids and yay, new cars and a new house and yay, look at my life, social media, right? And what we end up doing is comparing their highlight reel which is just the best of the best. It's the stuff that they want to put out there as, look at me, I'm awesome. And what they don't share, or what many people don't share, is the fact that they're not sharing their down moments. They're not sharing their struggles. They're just doing the highlights. So if you compare your daily grind against their highlight reel, you're going to be pretty darn unhappy. And as a result, you're going to be self-critical. As a result, you're going to start to believe that, right? We believe the things that we think and say to ourselves most often. If you walk around saying, why am I such a loser? Why can't I get anything done? I'm worthless. I don't have any value. You're going to believe it. And so it's really not up to those around us to build up our self-esteem. It's up to you. It's up to you to decide, what do I want to make out of this life? We only go around this life once. And, as I get older, I'm 54 now. I've got friends my age who are dead. I've got a friend who died on 9/11. And as bad as I think some of my struggles are, he would trade with me in a heartbeat, right? I've got people my age dying of cancer. Pretty horrific stuff. I've got aunts, uncles, and a dad who just passed away. And so we're not here forever, guys. And that may sound really morbid and negative, but what it is, or hopefully is maybe a little bit of a kick in the butt to go, hey, do you really want to waste another day beating the crap out of yourself verbally, with your thoughts, with your habits, with your lack of exercise, with your mind-numbing television, with your junk food, with your cigarettes, with your alcohol, with all of that stuff? Is that how you really want to go through the short time that we've got on this planet? And look, mortality is frightening and it's infuriating, right? And when we think, I'm 54, I turned 54 yesterday, or on the 19th. So these videos are always one day lagging. But I turned 54, and I look back and I go, what have I accomplished? I raised a good kid. He just turned 25. Holy crap, how do I have a 25-year-old? That went fast. And, I had a good marriage for a while, then it fell apart. And now I've got a girlfriend, and that's going great. And, money is okay. I'm not rich by any stretch, and I know some of you might be going, yeah, sure, you're not rich. I'm really not. I've got just enough to pull this together and to pay the bills. I don't have a huge net worth or anything crazy, but I've got enough that I can say I value treating myself well, and I don't buy a lot of crap. I've got 2 cars that are, from 2005 and 2007. They're old beaters, right? Yes, one of them is a Mazda Miata, and that's a little sports car, but it was still only several $1,000s, right? 9 to be exact. And you can go out today and buy a Toyota and spend $30,000, right? So I don't live extravagantly, but I treat myself to the things that matter. Dun dun, right? So do you love yourself? Again, this is not an opportunity to say, no, I hate myself, I suck. It's an opportunity to say, if not you, who's going to do it for you? Right? Who's going to love you enough that you feel good about yourself? I don't think that's possible. And frankly, if you've got a caring, loving spouse that treats you well, it's not their job to help you love yourself, right? It's their job to treat you well and respect and care for you. But they can't love you for you. You've got to love yourself. And that means taking care of your mind and body. That means listening and becoming aware of the mental chatter from this internal roommate that's telling us you're not enough, you're not good enough, you don't deserve love, you don't deserve anything, you deserve this life of pain, right? Those are some heavy thoughts, but many of us have them all the time, all day long. And so self-love, like I said, getting better from TMS and distraction pain, it's an inside job. Self-love, totally an inside job. It's up to us to treat ourselves the way we want to and need to be treated. So I just wanted to tag on with this little video as a part 2, and I may even just release this at the same time as part 1, just because I really don't want to leave some of these thoughts hanging out there and unresolved from my first video, because I think my first video will leave us some questions like, okay, so what do I do? What do we do is treat ourselves the way we wish we were treated by others, right? If you're having a tough time getting to the gym or getting to exercise or stretch or work out or eat healthy, what would you want somebody else to do to support you? You'd want them to pat you on the back and go, hey, you can do it. You can do this. You're worth it. Okay, so don't wait for somebody else. Do it yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself that pep talk. Wake up in the morning and go, I'm blessed to have this day, and I'm going to live it for my own benefit. I'm going to create the best me that I can. And when you start to do that, and you start making progress, you end up laying down at the end of the night, or at the end of the day at night, and going to sleep, and you actually feel good about yourself. Why? Because progress feels good. Progress actually creates happiness. If you're marking time, going backwards, and not making any progress in life, when you lay down at the end of the day, what do you generally think? Well, that was a wasted day. I didn't do anything. Or maybe we don't even think that deeply. But if you have a day where you actually take some forward steps and you make some progress, and maybe you just got a little bit better with some of these things we're trying to do to end our chronic pain and our other symptoms, you can at the end of the day go, I did a little bit better. And that feels really good. And we build on this, and we build on it, and momentum definitely helps. There's a book called The Compound Effect, and it's really all about little tiny incremental baby steps. And before you know it, you are eons ahead of where you were. So when I talked about comparing ourselves to others and how doing that will really, really cause unhappiness, because you're never going to have your daily grind live up to their highlight reel. The best use of comparison is to compare yourself to how you did yesterday. And was today a better day? Did I take more forward steps than backwards? Did I treat myself well? Did I respect myself? Did I love myself? Right? So hopefully this part 2 kind of rounds out that Do You Love Yourself video from part 1. Gives it a little bit more of a tangible aspect to it, and gives you some action steps that you can take to really start treating yourself the way you wish others would treat you. And honestly, when you treat yourself with respect and you do the things that you've committed to yourself that you're going to do, believe it or not, other people will also notice that and start to treat you better as a result. But if all you're doing is sit around complaining, whining, eating junk food, watching TV, and really being negative and self-sabotaging, it's going to be hard for other people to treat us with love and respect, because we're not even treating ourselves with it. So it's not conscious, it's not intentional on their part, but subconsciously they're like, well, they're not helping themselves, so why should I help them, right? So treat yourself the way you want to be treated. Love yourself, truly. You deserve it. And again, it's an inside job. Nobody else can do that for you but you. So hopefully part 2 helped close some of the open loops that I left on part 1. So we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.